Hey friends, welcome to Home Canning for Beginners. This is probably the class for Homestead Kickoff Week that I have been the most excited to bring to you because canning is a topic that I get tons of questions about, and it's a topic that tends to really make people nervous. So today we're going to be talking all about canning, where to start, what supplies you need, what you don't need, troubleshooting, finding the myths, all of those things. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. I would love to know where you're watching from. I would also love to know, have you ever tried canning before? Hey Bev, I'm excited too. This is going to be a fun one. So I'd love to know your canning experience. Have you canned in the past? Have you been too afraid to try? Have you tried and failed? Are you canning very successfully and you're here to offer tips and support? We love you being here for that too. No matter what your skill level is, this is for you so that you can learn. And as we go, I'm going to be showing you lots of things today, showing you supplies, and then when we get to the end of the class, I'm going to open it up for questions. Okay, I'm watching. We've got Texas, Arizona, Illinois, Wisconsin, the coast of North Carolina, Southern California, Florida, a canning newbie, never canned before. Love this. Love it, love it. I water bath often, but nervous about pressure canning. You are in the right class, my friend. We're going to talk about that very thing. All right, let's dive right on in. How about it? So, if you are new around here, my name is Amber, and I am a wife and a mom and a homesteader, and we are in North Carolina, and this is my canned food. So canning is actually a skill that I never looked at and thought, I want to learn how to do that, until I started growing a garden and I realized I had to figure out a way to preserve all of the things I was growing once my garden became very successful. And so I knew a little bit about canning from watching my grandma. I just saw, Vicki said she watched her grandmother years ago, same thing. So my mama lived on a farm and she would can a lot of green beans. That was sort of her thing. And while I never watched her can, I did get to spend a summer with her when I was real little, and I can remember her sending me down into the basement, the big scary dark basement, and saying, go down there and bring up 2 jars of beans and 1 jar of potatoes, or whatever it might have been. And going down there and looking on her shelf and there's all these jars. And I was so amazed, how much work. She grew that, she put it in the jars, and then she somehow made it where they stayed safe. It was a mystery, but a very cool one. And then I figured out that Mama's beans tasted a whole lot better. No offense, Mom, if you're watching, but they tasted a whole lot better than my mom's beans. And my mom didn't can. My mom, very much like a city life girl. This is not her jam at all. And so I could tell a big difference between home canned versus store-bought, even as a little girl. And so fast forward, I start gardening. We start bringing in tons of beans and potatoes and different things. And I was like, I'm going to have to learn how to do this. And by that point, my grandma was past the point where she could teach me. And so I kind of had to just figure it out. How many of you have wanted to learn a skill and not had someone in real life that could teach it to you? Drop a heart if you can understand that feeling. I've been through it for many things, but especially with homestead skills, because these are sort of the old ways. They're things that people don't necessarily do all the time anymore. And so, we are bringing it back. We're bringing the old ways back, and we're making this the current ways. And so the very first step to learning to can is taking the fear out of it. Oh, I see all your hearts. Okay, you guys are with me. Thank you. So I love it when you're commenting, by the way. Keep talking to me. It helps me know where we're going. That's wonderful. So how do you get past the fear to actually learn this skill? That's probably the biggest thing we need to talk about before we even get into the nitty-gritties of canning. And so here is the one big thing, okay? If something happens and you have to jump off the class, if you have to come back and watch this later, this is the big takeaway. Grab something and write this down. It's that important. If you only learn one thing today, it's that canning is not scary if you understand how it works. Once you understand the science behind the process of what you're doing, it takes the fear away. And once you have those safe procedures in place where you feel totally comfortable with them, then suddenly the fear goes away, okay? And we're going to teach you today exactly what you need to know to start this without fear. So to break this down, y'all, we could do a whole week of lessons just on canning. And so to break this down, what I have done is I have boiled it down to 3 secrets that are going to guide us through this class today. 3 secrets to take the fear out of canning. All right, secret number 1, you don't need everything to start. So you don't have to go out and spend thousands of dollars on supplies and have all of these beautiful brand new things to start canning. In fact, you may not even have to buy anything at all. So the very first type of canning that I recommend that people get into is water bath canning. This is a water bath canner, and it is literally just a giant pot. Chances are, if you are a thrifter, then you have seen these like in a Goodwill or a thrift store. I see these constantly in thrift stores. And most people think, oh, it's just like a giant pot. What would I ever fill that giant pot up with? No, this is a water bath canner. And it literally is just a giant pot. There's a rack that fits inside. I thought it was in there, but it's not. It must be back on my shelf. But there's a rack that fits inside. And water bath canning, get ready for this. It's real profound. All you're doing is you're taking foods that are high acidity and like pickles. Here's some pickle relish. And you're going to put your filled up jars in your canner and you're going to boil them with the cans or the jars completely covered with water by a couple of inches, and you're going to boil them for the amount of time that your recipe tells you to boil them. And then when your timer goes off, you're going to take your jars out and you're going to sit them on a towel and you're going to let them sit and cool down, and as they cool down, they're going to seal. You've just water bath canned. If you can boil water, you can water bath can. It's that simple. And people think it's like this super complicated process, but it's not. It's really as simple as boiling water. So that's the first type of canning, and I wanted to show you right off the bat my water bath canner, because a lot of times people think it's something super complicated. Second, you're going to need jars, and you can find all kinds of jars, all kinds of shapes and sizes and brands. And so here's the thing, you don't necessarily even need to go buy a bunch of jars. If I had bought all of the jars that I currently have, y'all, it would have been a ridiculous upfront investment that I could have never done. So what I did is when I wanted to start learning to can, I got on Facebook, good old Facebook, and I did Facebook on purpose because most of my older friends are on Facebook. And I put a post on there and I said, hey, does anybody have canning jars? Ask your mom, ask your grandma. Like if there's some in the basement, it's okay if they're old, it's okay if they're dirty, I'll clean them, but I need canning jars. And within just a few days, I literally had probably over 500 canning jars just dumped in my driveway. People started bringing them to me. And then, you know, like I've done that periodically. Anytime I'm starting to run low, you know, or I need new jars, I just ask again. And then what's cool is a lot of my friends have figured out that I'm doing this. And so they will, like when they're at yard sales or garage sales or thrift stores, if they spot jars, they bring them to me. They'll grab them or they'll call and be like, hey, this lady has 200 jars and she only wants $50. Do you want me to get them? And I'll be like, yes, please. So, you know, spread the word. Tell your friends, I'm learning to can. I need supplies. And the old jars are better than the new jars anyway, y'all. The new jars are not as good quality. So really, those real old ball jars that are in somebody's basement from their great-grandma, that's the supplies you really want anyway. So don't go spend a fortune on new things when you can take advantage of things that are in people's basements, right? All right. So then, let's see. We want to start with a simple method like water bath. We're going to also focus on simple foods in the beginning, things that you know your family will eat. So I'm going to tell you the very first thing that I canned. Actually, do I have one? Well, I don't have an exact. This is pickle relish. The first thing that I canned was pickles. And when I tell you guys those were the worst pickles, my dogs would not even eat those pickles. I mean, they were disgusting. So if you get into this thing and like your first attempt doesn't go well, you need to know that's okay. Like there's a learning curve to this. And I'll give you a little tip on pickles. So pickles, most recipes call for the water bath canner, but when you boil cucumbers, what happens? They get soft and they get soggy. And so a lot of times when people are upset that their pickles are soggy, it's because they have just cooked those cucumbers to death. And of course they're never going to be crispy. Like you can do all the tricks in the book, but if you boiled that cucumber for 15 minutes, it's just going to be soft. So yes, Angie said, try again. That's right. We do not give up. Just try again. And it turns out refrigerator pickles are a better option and fermented pickles are a better option. And speaking of that, we're going to talk a little about fermenting at the end. So stick for that. So my first pickles were terrible. Nobody would eat them. The dogs wouldn't even eat them. I was like, how in the world am I going to come back from this? Like, my family's never going to be willing to taste anything that I put in front of them after this horrible experience. But I kept trying. And so then I decided I'm going to try something a little simpler. And I think I did applesauce for my second project. And yeah, the applesauce was a hit. It was a win. It went well. Everybody loved it, and I got a little confidence. Sometimes we just need that first win to like drive us on, you know. And so for me, my second canning project was my first win, and then I was like, oh, okay, I could really do this. And so I want to give you the encouragement that it is progress, not perfection. It's like this with anything in life, but especially with canning or with a new kitchen skill. Every time you try it, you're going to learn a little bit more. Angie said her kids ate quarts and quarts of applesauce. Yes, yes. And it's the best because we know what's in it. There's not all these crazy preservatives in it when we make it ourselves. It's the best. All right, so secret number 1 was you don't need to know everything to start. Secret number 2 is that canning is safer than you think, okay? There's a lot of myths around canning and about exploding canners and about botulism. So let's clear a few things up. Safety comes with tested recipes and understanding the rules for time and temperature, okay? So for example, if you are going to can a food that is higher in acidity, such as tomatoes or pickles or fruits like jams and jelly or applesauce like we were talking about, this is muscadine jelly. If you're canning something like that with a higher acidity level, you only need a water bath canner. You don't even need a pressure canner. So you can begin to can a lot of things with just a big pot and some boiling water. When you need to bring the pressure canner into the picture is when you're starting to do low acidity foods. Things like green beans or like potatoes. Meats, things like that, soups and stews, the meal in the jar type projects, those need to be pressure canned. So let's just go ahead and take the fear out of pressure canning and let me show you a pressure canner. I promise you it's not as scary as you probably have thought. So this right here this is a Presto 16 quart pressure canner. Now, when you look at pressure canners and you're thinking about buying one, you need to know that the quart size does not necessarily describe how many quarts will fit inside. This is a 16 quart pressure canner that will fit 7 quart jars because those other quarts are the water that fills up in around in the space. So keep that in mind. A 16 quart pressure canner for me holds 7 quart jars. Now you can get big pressure canners that are like the double-decker type systems where you can do double layers. I'm canning on a glass top stove, so I'm not doing that. I don't want it to be too heavy, so I'm using this. And yes, you can can on a glass top stove. It's the only kind of stove I have ever canned on, so don't let that scare you either. So let me show you the pressure canner. I'm actually going to take the lid off and hold it up here so you can see it. So a pressure canner, all of them are going to be fairly similar, but there are 2 kinds. Some of them have a dial gauge and some of them have a weighted gauge. For beginners, I 100% recommend that you go with one with a dial gauge because it's going to be easier for you to learn and you can see exactly where you're at so you're not guessing and you know you're doing this safely. With pressure canning, safety is very important. There's also this little piece. This is a weight, and you can get different weights depending on the elevation that you live at. And this one, I think this is a 10-pound weight. It doesn't even say, but it comes with your pressure canner. And so during the pressure canning process, what you do is, let's pretend we're about to pressure can. Okay, so we have filled our jars with green beans, and we've covered them with water, and we've put on our lids. We would have a ring on as well at the time to keep it in place. And then we're going to put all of our jars in here. We'll fill it up, okay? And then we're gonna put our lid on, and I'm going to leave the weight off. And I'm going to put my stove onto like medium-high heat and get the heat kicking. And then what's gonna happen is, as the pot heats up, now it's sealed, and so steam is gonna start building up in here, and it's gonna start to escape through this little valve, and you're gonna see a little puff of smoke, and it's eventually gonna turn into almost like a little train stack, like a steady stream of steam. When you see the steam starting to come out, you set a timer for 10 minutes. It does not matter what you're canning. As long as you're using a pressure canner, this process is the same. So you see the steam, you set a timer for 10 minutes, and you let it just keep steaming. Now, the reason you're doing that is you are allowing steam and pressure to start building up in your pot, because eventually we're gonna close this and let the steam start to build pressure inside. But we've got to get enough built up to start the process. So 10 minutes is always the rule. Once that 10 minutes is up, you bring your weight, and it's still going to be steaming. It's still on the stove. It's still on medium-high heat. You're going to plop it on and plug the top. Now what's going to happen is the steam is staying in. And as pressure begins to build, your gauge will start to climb. And depending on your elevation, you will know when you are at appropriate pressure, for where you live. So as a general rule, most people start at 10 pounds of pressure, and then you add 1 pound of pressure for each additional 100 feet of elevation. That sounds so complicated, but it's really not. You can go online and Google canning elevation chart, and it'll immediately tell you what your pounds of pressure should be for where you live. I live at 1,100 feet of elevation, and so we can at 11 pounds of pressure. So going through our process, our veggies are in, we put this in, we let our steam go for 10 minutes, then we put our cap on, the pressure begins to build. When my gauge, I'm going to do this so you can see, here's the 10. So I'm going to wait till it gets just past that 10, and when it's on 11, I start my timer for the amount of time my recipe called for. So for green beans, I think it's 25 minutes. So once I'm at 11 pounds, I'm going to set a timer for 25 minutes. And then I'm not going to walk away. This is the important part. This is where we get into safety. Canning is not something you can do like putting food in a crock pot where you set it and then you leave it. When you are using a pressure canner, you need to stay by your pressure canner the entire time, because you've got to make sure it stays at the correct pressure. So you're going to have to start adjusting your heat. Once it's at 11 pounds, you don't want it to fly up to 15 pounds. You want it to stay at 11. It may move a little, and that's okay, but if at any point it dips lower than 11, you got to start your timer over. You want it at least what your pounds of pressure is supposed to be for your elevation for a minimum of the amount of time the recipe calls for. So for instance, with green beans, we're gonna keep it at 11 pounds of pressure, and I'm probably going to slowly turn down the heat on my stove to kind of keep it where I want it. By the end of my 25 minutes, usually I've worked it all the way down to low. Then when my timer goes off, I turn off the stove. I just completely turn it off, and I don't touch anything. I walk away. Now, this is a process that's important of letting your canner cool down, because if you just turn it off and you rip this off and you take the lid off, as soon as guess what's going to happen? All the liquid that is in your jars, all of the water that's on your green beans, it's going to overflow. Your jars probably won't seal, and even if they do, the liquid level is going to be like down here. And that's called siphoning, and it happens from drastic, fast temperature changes while you're canning. And so if you've ever had that happen where you take a jar out and you're like, where did all the liquid go? You change the temperature too quickly. That's almost always the reason. So just slow down. Slow your process down a little bit, and go carefully and slowly. Like, canning is one of those things. It's a good thing to turn on a podcast, turn on a YouTube video to listen to. And yes, Angie, we're recording this. It's going to be posted so you can get back to it for sure. So after my 25 minutes timer goes off, I walk away, and I do not come back until I hear a little click. You want to hear the click I'm listening to? So on the front of my pressure canner, you see that? There's this little valve, and when it's full of steam, okay, and our weight would be on it at this point. We just finished canning. It's full of steam. This is going to be up. It's going to be sticking up when it's full of steam. If I'm in the other part of the house and I hear this, that means the steam has fallen, my pressure is back down to 0, and now I can open my canner up and take my jars out. You do not do that until you hear this. You want to hear it one more time? That's the sound. Now, if you don't hear it, it's okay. You'll know because you'll see it fall. If it's not sticking up anymore, you're safe to open your canner. So that's a little trick you can use. And then let me show you how you can get them out of the pot. Let me show you a lid lifter. I have a whole jar of canning supplies that I keep. So this is a lid lifter. If you've never seen one of these handy dandy little gadgets, they're like $5 to $10 at Walmart or Amazon or anywhere that has canning stuff. And the rubber part is what goes on your jar. I see people a lot using them like this upside down. That's actually upside down. You want it like this. The rubber part is going on your jars, and you can pick them up when they're hot and lift them out just like this. And then once our process is complete, we're going to set it on a towel and leave it overnight. We're not going to touch them. We're not going to mess with them. And the next morning we'll come in and they should have all sealed. And you'll know because there will be no give in the top of your jar. Like this is, let me show you a lid of something not canned. So it's got like, you hear that? I don't know if you can hear it, but it's got some give to it. Like if I push, it's gonna move. Once something is canned, there's no give. There should be no push, no sound. Like it's just completely sucked down tight on top. You can also do the pickup test where you pick it up by the lid, and you should be able to hold it just by the rim of that metal lid. The seal should be that strong. And once you're done canning things, like once they've cooled down overnight, you're gonna label them and remove your ring. Okay, so the rings are only there during canning to hold that lid on long enough for it to seal. But they're not meant to be stored with the rings. In fact, if you store your jars with rings, you can get a little problem with false seals, where let's say this lid, I didn't do something correctly and the seal pops loose. If this ring is on here and it's holding it down tight, then I'm not gonna know it's popped loose. It may like just kind of seal itself back down, but it won't be a true seal, and I won't know that this is not safe to eat. So as soon as things are cool, I remove the rings, and then we store them like this with no ring. Isn't that muscadine jelly so pretty? So, okay. So number 2, our secret number 2 is canning is safer than you think. It's all about knowing the methods to use. And if you need to see like actual step-by-step, watch me make, green beans, watch me can them from start to finish, I'm going to provide videos for that. So stick with me. Here at the end, I'm going to gift you guys videos for that. Okay, so secret number 3, canning completely changes the way that you think about food. And let me tell you why that is. Preserving food gives you 2 things. Number 1, it gives you a little more self-sufficiency. Like, I am confident that if the grocery stores were to permanently close today, I would still be able to, on a regular basis, provide enough for year-round eating of things like green beans, potatoes, tomato sauce, ketchup, diced tomatoes, chicken broth, soups. Like a lot of the staples that people like prep and they stockpile and they try to save up. I don't necessarily feel like I need to do that because I have everything on hand to produce my own long term. And once I know the skills, I don't have to like live in this place of fear of like, oh, I need to stockpile 3 years of food in case there's another major emergency. Like, it's just not a thing at this point because I know that I've got the tools. I've got the seeds, I've got the jars, I've got the canners. If I had to, I could put this over a campfire and can tomatoes. Like, there are ways to do this even off grid. And so this is a skill for me that gives me a whole lot of like confidence in food security. And for that, it's a priceless one. When people ask me like if they should invest in courses, you know, like I'm thinking about, do I do a gardening course? Do I do a sourdough course? Do I do a canning course? Do I do fermentation? 100% of the time I say canning, because you can learn a lot of those other topics in free resources even, but canning is not something I would trust to learn from just anybody. Like, you need to be with somebody that you feel safe with, that you know has done the research and is teaching you the right methods, because if you learn incorrectly, you can make a lot of people sick, and nobody wants that. So find somebody you can trust to be your mentor. Let's see, Jackie, this is not an All-American pressure canner. This is a Presto. It's a Presto 16 quart. Let's see. So let's talk for a minute about canning questions. Okay, go ahead, and I know we've gotten a few, but I'm going to go ahead and like open it up. What questions do you have about canning so I can make sure we hit all the main points? Is it safe to can meat? Yes, it definitely is. Meat has to be pressure canned. And actually, I was getting ready to kind of lead into telling y'all about this. If you've been around this week, you've probably already seen it. But we're doing a brand new homestead bundle. And this homestead bundle is a collaboration between like 80 different homesteaders and gardeners. And so we have stuff in there on all those topics we just mentioned. I have a gardening book in there, but there are books and courses about canning. And there's actually one in there specifically on canned meat, which was so good and helpful. So I actually like downloaded that one to print to put in my little recipe binder, because she had really good things in there about canning meat, and then like how to use it from the canned state to like turn it into meals. Was a great resource. So if you haven't grabbed that library yet, it's 78 books and courses for only $50. There's only 4 days left. You can comment library at any point during this class, and it will go into your DMs, and it'll be waiting for you there when we get off the call. All right, I'm seeing questions about the glass top stove. Let's talk about that. So every stove manufacturer has different recommendations on this. I always recommend that you check into your stove specifically, but I can on my glass top stove. I have what kind of stove do I have? I don't even know. I think it's a Whirlpool, but I can on mine. It's a glass top electric stove. Now, to make it a little more safe and to protect my stovetop, I do not can super heavy things. Like, I wouldn't do an All-American canner with double-decker jars on my glass top. That would be too heavy. But I will do a pressure canner with just 7 jars in it. Like I do during the summer, I can almost at least 1 load a day, sometimes 2 loads. Like, it's just a part of our summer rhythm. So, wow, all these libraries, y'all, this is amazing. Amazing. Yes, there's somebody else that cans on their glass top. So it's very doable. But if you're nervous about it and you don't really want to risk breaking your stove, like if you've got a super expensive stove or you just don't want to risk it, I get that. You can also buy just an electric burner to keep in your kitchen and just can on the electric burner. Or I know people that can outside, like on the grill. Like, there are plenty of ways around it. So, yeah. All right, I'm going to scroll back up and see what other questions you have. Is it all written? Because if not, when the grid goes down, it would be lost. Yes. So, there are printable things in there. Most of the things in there are printable. There are some video classes, but most of the video classes also come with printables that go with them. We really wanted it to be something you could have paper copies of, so you can definitely print. And let me tell you about the bonus gift that I'm going to throw in. So anybody who buys the Homestead Bundle this week before it ends, I'm going to throw in my full canning class. And this is like a big course with multiple videos. You'll actually be hanging out here in the kitchen with me and Josh together. And we go through water bath canning, we go through pressure canning, and we go through steam canning. And we show you step by step. You'll actually be at the stove with me. We'll walk you through it. And all my recipes for beginners are in there as well. You'll get my pickles, my apple butter, vegetable soup, green beans, tomato sauce. All of the staples are in that recipe pack. So here's how you claim that. Comment library so that the link to the library will be in your DMs when this call ends. All you got to do is download your library and then forward me your confirmation email, gracewalkfarm@gmail.com. Okay? Forward it to me, and then I will reply to your email with your canning classes. And it will come in a Google Drive folder where you can immediately click in and start watching. There are videos for mobile friendly for your phone, and there's videos for on the computer. Or you can watch both if you need double canning lessons. They're a little different, and you can watch both. And then there's the downloadable printable book as well with all my recipes. So then, to make things even a little bit sweeter, I have one more little prize for you. So you guys know that my friend Jill and I are teaching this huge workshop April 15th called the Self-Sufficient Family Garden, where we teach you like how to go from a hobby garden to an actual food production garden. We're giving a free ticket to that to everybody who gets the library. But Jill also said that she would throw in her fermentation class for anybody who grabs the library today to go with the canning class. So you can make crunchy pickles with her fermentation course, and you can can all the other things with this. So I've got that information. I can send that to you as well. Just forward your bundle confirmation. Yes, if you have already bought the bundle earlier this week, if you've already downloaded the library, you can still get this bonus. It's not just for today. So it's definitely not too late. Forward your confirmation emails to gracewalkfarm@gmail.com. And I am thrilled to death. I'm just tickled to give you guys this resource because, like, for me, seeing it done in person really helped me have the confidence to continue and to figure this out. So I'm seeing tons and tons of library. Do you guys have other questions as well? Yes, Layla. Even the bonus from Jill for fermenting, you get that even if you bought before today. That is, if you've bought this library this week, we're throwing that in too. So yeah, we're doing everything we can to make sure that this kickoff week of free classes and the library really gives you what you're going to need this summer to be successful with learning these skills. That's our goal. All right. While we're hanging out for 1 minute, I do want to mention my favorite canning lids. I'm surprised this one hasn't been asked. So all canning lids are not created equal. And my favorite is 4 jars. I have tried all the brands. I'll be honest with you guys, all of the brands, or most of them, have approached me about like being an ambassador for them or sponsoring one of these classes, and 4 jars is the only one I work with because it is the only one that I consistently use in my own kitchen. And I love that they are a Christian company. They are very aligned with my family and their beliefs, and I think a lot of them. So if you need canning lids, you can buy these in bulk from 4 jars, and they have given us a really cool canning pack, including a pressure canner that I'm going to be posting a giveaway for this afternoon. And then they have a coupon code, GraceWalk10. I think I'm saying that right. GraceWalk10 will save you 10% on all the canning things that they offer, from the pressure canner. They have a vacuum sealer that's amazing. And then canning lids, pretty much anything you could need, they offer it. Let's see. What do I think about the electric steam or the electric canners? So I've never used one, but I have a friend who uses one and she really likes it. It's like an electric pressure canner. She said her only thing she doesn't like is it only does, I think, 4 jars at a time, 4 or 5. So she can't do quite as many at a time. But yeah. yeah, to claim the prize, guys, you just email me your confirmation email. Just forward it to me, gracewalkfarm@gmail.com. Can lids be reused? So, yes and no. It's up to you. There are lids that are made to be reusable. They're a little more expensive up front. The 4 jars lids are meant to be single use, where you use them once and then throw them away. Some people do repurpose them. Personally, I don't. I just feel like I've tried it and they didn't seal great when I reused, and so it's so much work. I would rather spend, with the coupon code, I think it's, if you buy them in bulk, it's like pennies per lid. So like I would rather just pay up front, get new lids and know they're gonna seal, instead of all my work go to waste, Oh, okay. Jackie said she loves her electric canner because it's small, but for 2 of us, it's working well. That's good feedback. During your class, will you be sharing equal amount of recipes for water and pressure canning? Yes. So there's like different videos for each section, and we go over both. Do you guys want to see this steam canner? I didn't show y'all that one, and it's actually my favorite one. Okay, if you're in Houston and you're looking for your elevation level, if you're below sea level, you're going to can at 10 pounds of pressure. Anything below sea level, you're at 10 pounds. So you should be golden just to start at 10 pounds. All right, this is a steam canner, and this is sort of the wild card in the canning mix. It's the newest kid on the block in the canning world, and a steam canner can be used to replace a water bath canner. Now, this is why I actually got a steam canner, because the water bath canner is quite heavy, and with canning on my electric stovetop, it makes me more nervous using the water bath than the pressure canner, because you have to cover the jars with water, and that's a lot of water if you're doing quarts. Like, you've got to put gallons and gallons of water in there, and it gets heavy. So the steam canner is a good workaround, especially if you're doing on a glass top stove, or if you have back problems and you don't want to be like hefting that big pot all the time. You can use a steam canner for any recipe that calls for the water bath, as long as the processing time is 40 minutes or less, which is pretty much everything. And so let me show you the difference. It has this huge dome lid, and then the pan itself is very shallow. It's got this little rack that sits down in it, and so you put your rack in, and then you just put 2 quarts of water in here. 2 quarts, that's all. And so it's not heavy. You put your 2 quarts in, then you put your jars in, and you put your lid on, and you turn your heat on the stove. And as it begins to heat and the water boils, steam builds up in here, and there's a dial on top, kind of similar to the pressure canner, and it will show you where you need to be based on your elevation, and you just follow that. And once it's in the right area, you set your timer and go. So I find my pickles, if I am going to can them, if I do them in this, they don't turn out nearly as soft and yucky. They're edible. This pickle relish right here was steam canned. This muscadine jelly right here was steam canned. I don't really use my water bath anymore. I prefer the steam canner. And because you're only having to heat up 2 quarts of water compared to like multiple gallons of water, it goes way faster. So you can process things faster, and you're not sitting there waiting, for an hour for your water to come to a boil so you can even begin. This usually is up and ready to start canning in like 15 minutes. It's very quick. So steam canner, those are available on Amazon. The brand that I use is called a Fruit Saver, and they're fairly inexpensive. I think I paid like $59 for this. So if you don't have a canner at all, I would recommend you get a steam canner instead of a water bath canner. That would just be my personal preference though. So you can with just a few jars. You want a minimum of at least 3 jars per batch that you run. And and you can even mix and match what you're canning. Like, for instance, if I'm going to do a round in the pressure canner and I've only got 3 jars of green beans, I could also like throw in a jar of tomato sauce or something else, but I'm just going to choose the processing time for the longest thing in the pot. So like if beans need to be processed longer than tomatoes, then I'm going to process for the meantime, if that makes sense. So just go with the longest processing time if you're mixing things, and you can do multiple things at once. All right, let's see. I love these questions. Yes, Forever Price. You do need a steam canner. It will change your life. It makes it go so much faster. What size is the steam canner? I honestly don't know. Like, it just comes in one size. Like, there wasn't, but it will hold, let me test this. I want to make sure I'm telling you right. I'm pretty sure it holds 7 quarts at a time, just like my pressure canner. So I'm going to stick them in here, and we'll make sure before I give you wrong information. 4, 5. Yes, it will hold 7 quarts. So 7 quarts will fit in the steam canner. If you do pints, you could probably fit 10. They're a little smaller, you know. If you do jelly jars, you could probably fit like 13. So like the little jars like this for jelly. So yeah, get you a steam canner. Yeah, Bev says she loves her steam bath. And the cool thing about the steam one is you can use it for things other than canning. Like, I will take this and I will just pile broccoli on it and put the steam lid on it and steam broccoli to go with dinner, or a piece of fish. Like, you can use it to cook in too. It's not just a one-purpose tool, which is nice. I do think it would work on a coal burner stove. Yeah, I definitely think you could do that. My grandma always canned on that kind of stove. What do you prefer to use for labels on your jars, or do you use anything? Okay, I actually don't do labels on my jars. I just write on them with a Sharpie. I put the year and what's inside, and sometimes I'm lazy, and to be honest, sometimes I don't even do that. Like, here's a green beans that isn't even labeled. You should label. You should at least put the year. But like, for instance, if I do so many jars, like this came off of a flat, and I have the flat labeled with the year, so I know if all the jars in that flat were from 2024. I guess we could talk too for a minute about how long this stuff will last. So canned goods can last for decades. You'll read lots of conflicting opinions on this, but I'm gonna tell y'all something that might freak you out good, but I'm just gonna tell you. I ate some green beans last summer in 2024 that were canned by my mother-in-law in 2011. They were 12-year-old green beans that had been in a jar in her basement, and they tasted just as good as when she canned them all those years ago. So as long as the seal is holding, I will eat food that is home canned. Now, store-bought food that's past its expiration date, I'm not trusting that. But I know what's in this. I know how it was processed, and as long as that lid is holding firm, it is perfectly good. Now, I will say I've never had a jar in my house that lasted, I don't think, more than 3 years, you know. So we do try to rotate them, so we're constantly, you know, eating the oldest things first and all of that. But yeah, and you can store your jars in lots of creative ways. I do not have a basement. I do not have a root cellar. And we can, on average, probably 800 to 1,000 jars a year. So we have to get real creative. And bookshelves, we've got jars on bookshelves all over the house. In an extra bedroom, we kind of made a whole wall of shelves to keep all our flats on. Where there's a will, there's a way. If you want to do this, you will figure out a way to make it happen. My grandpa always said canned food lasts forever. Yes! Telling you, our grandparents knew what was up. they had this thing right. The smell of home canned tomatoes was so good, even for 2016. Yes, you know, that's the craziest thing about this. Like, you can open a jar of tomato sauce from the grocery store and you'll be like, yeah, that smells like tomato sauce. If I open this right now, I wish we had smell-o-vision, but if I open this right now and y'all smelled it, it smells like summer. It smells like fresh picked tomatoes, because these tomatoes were literally picked like an hour before they went in this jar. There was no transporting it. There was no time for them to lose their nutritional value. Like, these things are as fresh as they can come. And so I also know nutritionally, like, I'm giving my family really good things by doing this, and I feel good about that. And I will say, like, our diet has changed to kind of center around eating what we grow. And my husband and I combined have lost probably over 150 pounds since we started homesteading. I've lost 80 something. Josh has lost at least 75. And like, we're not dieting. We are just eating real food. It will change your life. It will absolutely change your life. Oh yeah, the jar openers. Let me show you the one I've got. This is made by another mom here on Instagram. Her page is like spell it out, Five Farm. And she makes these. She hand whittles these on her cute little porch. She's a farmer. Like, how adorable is that? And she hand whittles these, and they have this little lip. So what you do is you get your jar and you find where there's a little gap at the threads, and you just put it on there and pop it up. And she says that she does this and is able to reuse her lids. She says it kind of saves the seal from getting messed up. I haven't tried reusing again, but I do love these. I actually have bought like 3 of these from her, and I give them as gifts and stuff. I just think it's so cool that she sits on her porch and whittles. So I'm like, that's the best. Handmade things are the best. I'll pay 5 times more to know somebody sat on their porch and whittled it, you know. So, all right, y'all. Well, I hope this class has been helpful. I want to give you one final reminder to grab that library. It's got so many good things in it. My new book about companion planting, all of these canning resources, plus we're throwing in the canning class. The name again for the jar opener was 5V Farm. And I can message it to you after this. If you can't find it, just DM me. All right, y'all. Aluminum steam canner versus stainless steel. Any major difference besides price? Mine is aluminum, and it works fine. So I've never tried the other kind, but I would go with the cheaper one. That's always usually what I say. Like, if you're with canning, especially if you're new to it, like if you end up getting into it and then you're like, okay, I want to upgrade to the stainless steel, you could do that. But I would just start small and make sure you love it before you invest a ton. All right, so you guys have a wonderful weekend. I hope you'll start getting in your kitchen and dreaming up all the things you're going to can this year. Dive into those free canning videos I'm going to send you. I'll give you one more second to comment library if you didn't yet, so that the DM will be waiting for you. My little robot will hopefully send it. And yeah, if I can help you in any way as you continue on your canning journey, email me, gracewalkfarm@gmail.com. I love being able to come alongside and help and mentor and see other families succeed in this. So anytime I can help, you just reach out and I'm here. All right. Thank you guys. And I will see you, let's see, probably later this afternoon. We're going to try to do that vertical gardening trellis building class this afternoon. Josh is currently picking up my goats, so I got to go watch for my goats to arrive. I will see you guys later this afternoon. And of course, I'll show you my goats when they get here.